Shannon Aline McGraw, also known as ShannyForChrist, is widely known across the internet for various scams, controversies, and lies, as well as her rocky relationship with her quote-unquote husband, Jason, also known as Rev. Throughout the years, Shanny and Rev have embarked on a grand adventure of misfortune, marked with wealth, recognition, poverty, and suffering, as well as many scams. The lore of Shanny and Rev is very deep, and a lot of information about Shanny's early life is unknown, so I believe the best place to start this story is well before she met Rev, right around the time of her second divorce. Let me preface all this by saying Shanny is the mother of 2 boys. Their father is her first husband, a man called Douglas Gratis. Shanny and Douglas divorced in late 2010, and years later she would meet her second husband, a man named Christopher Dornbush. In 2017, they divorced as well. After Shannon had discovered that Chris had had an affair with her best friend, Shanny would spread rumors and lies about Chris for years to come, only ceasing at moments where she saw he could be beneficial to her once again. After Shanny's second divorce, she took the kids and she moved back in with her parents. Many years after Shanny had moved out of her parents' house, her mother spoke on what it was like living with Shanny for that period of time. And while I could explain it to you, I believe it is better to let Shanny's mom.
I think that it's about time that I get my side of the story out for a change. We bought her clothes, we bought her makeup, we bought her, she got to use her father's car every single day. Even when she wasn't working, she got to use her father's car, his truck. She got fired from her first job for making videos on YouTube. So she got fired from her first job. She laid up in the bed for months doing nothing but drinking alcohol and crying all the time, making everybody miserable. Mostly what she was crying about was because Jason wasn't fully her boyfriend at the time. She was mad at me because she couldn't smoke in my house, knowing that I have a heart condition. She had to go outside to smoke, even though it was my home, you know? And then she'd invite people over. This one homeless guy, my husband gave up the bedroom to sleep in the spare room in a smaller bed, and I slept on the couch downstairs the whole time she was here. So they could have the master bedroom. And that master bedroom, a stench started coming out of it. And when I opened the door, it was at least 2 feet deep, full of garbage, food, clothing, God knows what else was in there, urine. We found urine in a container.
The agreement between Shanny and her parents was that she could stay there so long as she held a job and helped pay the bills. Shanny would be fired from her first and only job because she was making YouTube videos there. That detail is very important because this is the beginning of Shanny's YouTube quote-unquote career. During Shanny's stay with her parents, she would become heavily involved in what is known as the Great Debate community, a group of religious social media content creators who would often debate the existence of God on various social media platforms. And in this community, Shanny would meet 2 very important characters to this story, first of which being a guy called G-Man, who Shanny would flirt with quite a bit. Throughout the years, they would develop an extremely complicated relationship, which I will discuss later. The second figure that she would meet in the Great Debate community would be her future boyfriend, Jason, also known as Revelation News or Rev. I will primarily refer to him as Rev throughout this video. In my opinion, Rev is the second most important person in all of ShannyForChrist lore. Rev, whose full name is Jason William Egrov, was at that time a decently wealthy man. His mother had just passed away, leaving him a hefty inheritance of around $700,000, as well as some property. He was also an alcoholic who would preach the gospel under the name Revelation News. Shanny, G-Man, and Jason formed a strange sort of love triangle for a time. Shanny was very interested in Jason, especially after she found out about his wealth, while also trying to seduce G-Man every chance that she got. Rev resisted for a while, but eventually, Shanny sunk her claws in and made him her boyfriend. While all of this was going on, the things that Shanny's mother described were also occurring. Shanny was having homeless people over, she was destroying their master bedroom with trash, and generally making life harder for her elderly parents who were recovering from multiple operations and suffering from numerous health conditions. Refusing to get a job and refusing to clean up after herself, Shanny's parents decided to kick her out, only to be met with resistance from Shanny, who refused, so the police had to forcibly remove Shanny and her two boys from the premises. After being kicked out of her parents' house, she would find herself living with Rev, and this is where things start to get really crazy.
She said that she wanted him because he was a millionaire. This is the truth. She wanted him because he was a millionaire and she knew she wouldn't have to work anymore.
Shanny would move in with Rev, who is currently residing in Pennsylvania. He had around $700,000 as well as a house that had been left to him. All of this came from his mother, who had just died of cancer. Rev was an alcoholic and horribly depressed. After coming to live with Rev, Shanny demanded that he stop alcohol cold turkey. Rev, who was drinking alcohol every day at the time, found this extremely difficult, but managed to survive. But even though Rev was no longer an alcoholic, he was still suffering from some of the side effects of drinking for that long. Though it is unproven, he claimed to suffer from Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, more commonly known as wet brain. It is a severe and temporary condition characterized by confusion, loss of muscle coordination, and abnormal eye movements, as well as vision changes. The key symptom I want you to focus on is confusion, because Shanny would take full advantage of Rev's state of mind. Reveling in her newfound wealth and desiring a change of scenery, Shanny convinced Rev to move from Pennsylvania all the way to Colorado, where Rev had no friends and no family. It is widely believed that Shanny provoked this move so that she could smoke marijuana in a legal state, as well as to isolate Rev. But before they would move from Pennsylvania, G-Man would come back into the picture. That's right, the guy that Shanny used to crush on from the Great Debate community. You see, Rev had a rundown old house that he didn't want anymore, so they were thinking about selling it. G-Man, seeing an opportunity for profit, and Shanny, seeing an opportunity to impress her beloved G-Man, would convince Rev to sell G-Man the house for $1 United States dollar. Granted, the home did need extensive repairs, but this is still far below the value of the property. This home and G-Man would come back into the story much later. But for now, Shanny and Rev would make their way to Colorado, where they would start a new life. They would first rent a house, and then they would start buying massive amounts of everything, and put all of their time into their social media presence. Rev and Shanny were living the life, but things were not so amazing for her two boys.
Mommy, where are you? Mommy! Daddy! He's gonna come out crying because we're like 5 minutes. The thing is why we were late at the school is we got like caught up by being famous.
We were famous.
We're having people stop and talk to us.
This is what happens
when you become a celebrity.
Folks, we're freaking like Brangelina.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Except better looking. You know?
The teachers are like, when are you gonna get here? The boy is annoying us.
I know, he's fucking annoying. He is, but I love him anyway. Zach's annoying as fuck, but he's...
Anyway.
Jason and Shanny were really feeling themselves at this moment in time. They started making tons of content in all forms, even posting to websites with hub in their name, if you catch my drift. They were branching out into almost all avenues, trying to establish a social media presence, and they had a modicum of success, even making an appearance in one of Shane Dawson's videos. They would use a massive amount of Jason's wealth on various social media related things. Tons of expensive equipment that they didn't need, gifts to random people that they barely knew, and thousands in super chats to Foodie Beauty, who Shanny was a massive fan of at the time. They were also using this money to flex on people. They bought a scalped PlayStation 5 for way more than it was worth, and bragged about it for weeks. Shanny would try her hand at the stock market. Rumor has it she lost over $100,000 just there. When you consider that that is 1/7 of their total net worth, then I think you're not going to be shocked when I tell you that they burnt through all of the money in under 2 years. Over $700,000 in pure money, as well as the property they sold to G-Man for $1. All of it gone. The only thing that they had left was about $15,000 in back rent and Jason's car. While Shanny and Rev had money, everything was great. They were making massive mukbang videos, smoking lots of pot, and throwing money around like they were rich. Shanny would spend thousands in makeup, super chats, costumes for her streams, just about anything, she bought it. And while Shanny and Rev were rich, their relationship was great. But after they had burned through the last of their money, that's when the cracks began to show. It seemed like Rev had recovered from his Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome and was no longer afraid to display his anger at Shanny. Here is one of Shanny and Rev's most infamous arguments, and it's all over the fact that they have no money left.
I'm a psycho? Yeah, while I'm financially supporting everything and working my ass off trying to do everything I can.
No money coming in. None.
I have to wait till the 21st.
Supporting what?
Yes, I've been getting money in here and putting it in the bills and paying them.
Yeah, you're totally full of shit.
Oh, really? Really? Because I think the people who give me money know that I'm paying the bills.
G-Man pays your bills.
G-Man doesn't pay me.
G-Man pays your bills.
No, he doesn't.
Sat on your ass for 3 years and did nothing.
I took care of you.
$700,000, spent $700,000. That's what you did. I did everything.
Oh,
you
yeah.
sat on your ass, did nothing for 3 years.
Yeah.
That's what you did. You should be working to take care of your own kids.
Well, I am doing that. Now am I?
You're making a lot of money.
I'm trying my best.
You're making nothing. It's pathetic.
And I'm trying my best. What are you making? Nothing. How many jobs have you looked for? None. You haven't done anything. I've been looking for jobs. I've pointed jobs out to you even. At least I'm trying. And I wasn't sitting on my ass for 3 years. I was taking care of you while you were playing sick. I think he's having an affair with me with this girl named Caitlin. I think he is, because he keeps saying he wants to leave me. Even though I'm working so hard. And it's not good enough. Nothing I do is good enough for anyone. Don't waste the gas money. Please. We don't have any more money to waste.
Gas money. I'm just getting out of here for a while.
Where are you going? No, you can't spend the money on gas. We don't have the money. I can't get anymore. No one's
You
donating.
didn't get any money.
We got 20 yesterday. I got 20.
You got 20. Well, good for you. The only reason you're in this place is because of me. You wouldn't have been in this place for 1 second.
Well, I'm trying to keep this place going, so can you help me?
You're not doing shit.
What have you done?
I gotta send you, you fucking bitch.
You're gonna hit me now?
Yeah. Call the cops. I want out of this relationship.
What are you gonna do, Jason? You don't even have a job. And you're gonna waste money on gas? And let me guess, you're gonna come to me for the gas money and the cigarette money and all the money you've been needing, like you've been doing. Most of the money went to your fucking cigarettes anyway. So, who's Caitlin from Exclusive?
Caitlin is a fucking woman that took my name when COVID first started because she had to call me to get in there. You fucking asshole, piece of shit.
So you spit on me too?
Yeah, you deserve it.
After you me yesterday.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah,
I wish I could rip my fucking thing off after it being in you.
yeah.
It's sterile and disgusting after being in you.
Wow.
Though Shanny claims that she was financially supporting the family at the time, she was making minuscule amounts off of her YouTube AdSense. A lot of money was coming from G-Man, who seemed to have some kind of private agreement with Shanny. This would not continue though, and eventually they would be evicted for the $15,000 in back rent I previously mentioned. Shanny and Rev had wasted so much money on things that they could not fit all of it into their car to make a long road trip back to Pennsylvania. They had 2 cats, a guinea pig, and 2 boys, so an astronomical amount of items were left behind at Shanny's old house. Shanny, in what many believe was an attempt to get her trolls in trouble, invited anyone and everyone to come take whatever they wanted from the house, leaving the garage doors up and the doors unlocked. Some people in the Colorado area would take her up on that offer, and one person in particular went to film the condition of Shanny's rented home. People had always speculated that they were ruining the house, but no one knew just how bad things were in there. Let me show you some of the clips gathered from the tour of Shanny's home, and some of the conditions that she was allowing her boys and animals to live in.
When you walk in, the first smell is feces. Some scented something or another. Lots of like tobacco smell, probably something mixed with, probably something heavily mixed with, oh god, I can't think, it's weird. That stinks. Oh, that reeks. It's a child's bed. Again, I was paid to come in here and just take a film and get the hell out. So that's what I'm doing. I gotta hold my breath in here because I can smell this is where it's coming from. They've left the bathroom lights on and the vent here. It's just god awful.
Mountains of cat feces, soiled bed sheets and clothing items, ripped up toys, and pure filth. The conditions that Shanny's sons were living in were absolutely abysmal, as well as the conditions that she had for her animals. This was a huge wake-up call to the very few people that still legitimately supported Shanny. She had claimed for years now how they were taking good care of their boys, that they were spoiled, and how everything was great in their life, when the conditions of the rental home were clearly getting worse with time. I believe it is the $15,000 in back rent that they owed, as well as the sheer damage that was done to the property by them living in it, that caused them to flee Colorado altogether. After packing all of their things, they would begin a road trip that would go down as one of the most infamous events in ShannyForChrist lore, driving all the way from Colorado to Pennsylvania. Even though they were broke, Jason still had a support system up there, so it was really their only option, and the road trip began. I find this road trip so interesting because Shanny recorded a good deal of it. At the time, their only hope for bringing in money was a social media career, as both of them had no interest in acquiring a regular job. During this road trip, a number of funny, disturbing, and most definitely interesting interactions ensued. When Jason has his White Castle, everything's all good, but when he's driving all day and he doesn't have time to smoke as many cigarettes as he would like, he'd get a little cranky, leading to him, Shanny, and the boys getting into numerous fights, all for Shanny's audience to watch. It was already clear that Jason held Shanny's 2 sons in contempt, that he saw them as some kind of competition for Shanny's affection, particularly resenting the older son, who suffered from diagnosed mental health issues. Rev would insult the kids and Shanny right in front of all of them. Fights like this were common during the road trip.
I'm tired of having a woman that treats me this way. I'm sick of it.
Look how you're treating me.
I am sick of it.
Honey, I wouldn't be acting like this if you're not
Shut
yelling
up.
and screaming and treating people like shit.
Off and shut up.
How about you off and shut up?
I wish I could.
All of this is going on while her 2 sons are sitting in the back seat, which, as you can see, is full of stuff. It's hard to believe that there are 2 cats and a guinea pig as well as 2 kids in there. And I want you to keep that in mind as I show you this next clip, because now we are getting to the most iconic moment in the entire road trip. Rev would get very, very lost one day, and eventually find himself down by the train tracks. Instead of seeing that he was no longer on the road, and turning around, Rev decided that he would keep going until he found his way back, eventually getting their car stuck on the train tracks.
We're stuck.
What are we going to do? Because look at the gas.
Okay.
Coming up on road, I think.
Yep. See?
That's
Go.
an angel that helped that. Jesus Christ, how deep is this? Well, we took this up. It's more train tracks, Shanny.
Okay. No, don't go down there. Go there.
Up here?
Yes.
Look at this. This is just a bridge for a train.
We shouldn't be driving here.
I know that.
Okay.
I don't know where to go, though, Shannon.
Okay. This is so fucking dangerous.
Yeah, I know it is. Oh my God, is that a road?
It might be.
Or is that train track?
Just be careful. Can you move over a little bit more? Thank you. Oh my God. Try to go over them. Oh God.
No! That's it. No, we're wrecked. We're wrecked. That's
Oh.
No, that's it. We're wrecked.
Jason,
What?
call the cops.
Yeah, we're calling the cops. It's on the run, kid. She's fucking on it. Oh my God, she's fucking badass.
We got a flat tire.
We have a flat tire.
Shanny, who claims to suffer from more illnesses than I can count, pushed the car off of the train tracks, much to the amazement of Rev. Shanny would go on to cite her super mom strength as the source. The cops would be called, rescuing Shanny, Rev, and the boys from the train tracks. How Rev was able to accomplish this is beyond me. He had so many opportunities to turn around, but continued until he eventually got stuck. They are extremely lucky that there were no trains coming through there, and I wonder just how much it cost the train company to shut all that down for a period of time. After this incident, the road trip would continue smoothly, eventually arriving at their destination of Jason's uncle's house. Jason's uncle is going to become a pivotal character moving forward, as he is by far Shanny and Rev's biggest enabler. After being evicted, they would live with Jason's uncle for some time, before being kicked out because they had not kept their promise of getting jobs. This began a saga of Shanny and Rev bouncing around for what would seem like years. Sometimes they would stay at G-Man's house. Sometimes it would be a motel or an apartment. Even though they weren't technically homeless, they were still broke, and this put a massive amount of strain on Shanny and Rev's relationship, resulting in an increasing number of fights, one of the biggest leading to Shanny's arrest. It all happened on what was supposed to be a relatively normal night. The family had gone out to see Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Rev had consumed a couple of drinks before the theater, as well as at the theater, and was complaining about having to watch Detective Pikachu, which he saw as a kid's movie, beneath him. This argument would carry its way back to their apartment, where Shanny would end up striking Rev. After doing this, Shanny would call the police and claim that Rev had struck her. After the police arrived and got one look at Rev, it was very clear who the victim of this situation was, and Shanny was taken away in 2 pairs of handcuffs.
This is ridiculous. I get put in jail and he hits me. I get put in jail and he hits me. Can I talk to him, please, real quick, about the boys?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm going to jail.
What?
I'm going to jail.
Real quick. Why are you going to jail?
They're pressing charges on me for me hitting you.
So you're going to be responsible for the boys tonight, okay?
I didn't want to press charges.
You understand?
I understand.
Okay.
I didn't want to press charges, though.
We know that, but for domestic violence, You know, our hands are kind of tied. Even if you didn't want to press charges.
The apartment you see in this video is just one of the many places that Shanny and Rev have stayed after being kicked out of his uncle's. And a lot of the times they were kicked out of these places for not being able to afford them. Shanny never had a job, and Jason would sometimes claim to have one, but it was clear that no matter what the truth was, they were not making enough money to support themselves. And at the core of it, this is what causes so much trouble between Shanny and Rev. Deep in Rev's heart, he blames her for his current situation, being broke, nearly homeless, and dealing with constant ridicule online. But the thing of it is Jason is nowhere near innocent. In fact, it's the exact opposite. He's been responsible for a number of horrible things. And right now we are going to discuss the most infamous incident. Just for timeline's sake, this happened well after they had been kicked out of his uncle's place, during the time that they were bouncing around. This arrest would once again result in a dispute over a movie. After one of Shanny's sons insisted that they watch a certain movie, Jason would have an absolute meltdown on him that landed him in cuffs. He would be taken to jail, and he would stay there for quite some time. Shanny would publicly disavow Jason, saying that she no longer wanted anything to do with him. The CPS was also now involved. Shanny claimed that her caseworker was helping her get everything settled so that she could be the super mom that she's always been, and that Jason would never be a part of her life ever again. This was all untrue, because after 2 weeks of being in jail, Jason's uncle gave Shanny the money to bail him out, which Shanny promptly did and welcomed him back into her life. The boys were then taken by CPS and have not been in the custody of Shanny since. Months after the boys were taken away, Shanny would still claim that she was doing things to get them back, but they have never returned, and I truly believe that this is for the best. This is one of those moments that those children are truly better off in the care of the state. Some of the things that they have experienced and witnessed are horrifying, and I pray that they can find a semblance of peace moving forward with their lives. But Shanny's life would continue on as it has been for the past couple of years. She took Rev back into her life almost immediately after he got out of jail, and began to completely change her story about the situation that had occurred. She would also use the fact that her kids were taken as something to hold over Rev's head. Anytime Rev even spoke of leaving her or his disdain with the way that she was acting, she would immediately start blaming him for having the kids taken, as well as saying that he was now the only person she had left. If you haven't noticed, Shanny is extremely possessive of Rev. I guess a better way to put it would be that she is the jealous type. That is very rich coming from a woman who did so many things with G-Man while she was in a relationship with Rev. If she even catches Rev looking at a woman, it's going to be a fight. And only a couple of weeks after Rev got out of jail, that's exactly what she caught him doing. Rev was caught messaging escorts on his phone. Given their current financial situation, I don't think it was anything serious, but upon seeing this, Shanny had a meltdown. And I know I've used that word a lot on this channel, but I feel like I've done it a disservice until now. Upon discovering that Rev had been messaging these women, she proceeded to shave his head, paint the letter A on his forehead, and publicly humiliate him on her live stream. Here are a couple of clips from the most infamous moment in ShannyForChrist lore.
I added black to it so you could be manly about it. Now you can show everyone. Does it feel good? Does it feel good?
No.
Good. Good.
For those speculating why she drew an A on his forehead, I finally have an answer. When I was making my first ShannyForChrist documentary, years ago. It's now deleted on this channel. I had no idea what this meant, but as always, the YouTube comments section provides. And I want to thank all the people who gave me the rundown on why it was the letter A in particular. This all stems from a book called The Scarlet Letter, and the letter A on an individual is the sign of sin and adultery in that book. It's a very brief overview, but that's the explanation. As for the head shaving and the little bits of dye she put on his scalp, I believe that is purely for humiliation purposes. She made Jason look like this so that no other woman would find him attractive. My theory is further supported by the fact that she would not allow him to alter his hairstyle in any way. He was not allowed to go completely bald or even trim it, claiming it was his punishment for the sins he had committed against her, taking some kind of perverse satisfaction in the whole ordeal. I want you to keep in mind that Jason had just been arrested. The already low public opinion of him sunk after that. But even still, people were telling him that he had to leave Shanny because this was extremely manipulative. There would be a couple of moments where Jason would snap back to reality and realize just what was happening to him, but they were quickly overpowered by the guilt Shanny was putting on him over her boys being taken away. Here's a clip of a live stream that Jason held around this time. You'll notice him reading chat, which is telling him to run.
Everything they're saying is get the hell out now. You're abused horribly, get out.
Yeah, get out.
I am.
Get out. You don't love me. You never did.
See, I did this for her. This. I look like this now. And that was for her. This is for her.
How many women have I found you talking to like that?
Shanny and Rev were really financially struggling at the time. Rev was losing massive amounts of weight and always talking about how hungry he was. He would also complain about Shanny hoarding certain items like food or cigarettes, giving people the impression that she was rationing these things out to Rev as she saw fit. Things were not good, and they were really on the verge of being homeless, and this led them back to Rev's uncle, who seemed unable to turn them away. He gave Shanny and Rev a room in his house and supported them financially on occasion. Shanny and Rev still had certain habits to upkeep, so they would continue to live stream, purely asking for donations. Rev would go live, talk about how he didn't want to go live, and then beg people for a blessing. Translation, that means give me money. And it seemed like with time, the scamming only got worse, the pinnacle of which being Shanny's claims of cancer. A short time after moving back in with the uncle, Shanny began to complain of health problems. This eventually led to her claiming that she had cancer, inadvertently asking her audience as well as Rev's for donations so that she could get treatment. Shanny's cancer was never confirmed, despite her many claims of different appointments and scans that she was getting. I don't think Rev was privy to any of this. His mother died from cancer, and public opinion was that Shanny was using this as a way to further manipulate him. Shanny would not just claim to have cancer, she would claim to have a number of other illnesses as well, none of which she could prove, and none of which seemed to exist when she had a little bit of money. This scam was reported many times to the proper authorities, eventually leading Shanny to put it to rest for a bit. Her new strategy of making money would be to simply have Rev get on camera, and that's how it currently works. Rev will go on camera, Shanny very rarely will. She might pipe in here or there if Rev is saying the wrong thing, but she's generally dark on social media. And after the fake illness scams died down, they weren't really doing anything interesting. They continued to live in their uncle's room, which was slowly turning from white to yellow, and they continued to post videos here and there, begging for money. Nothing of note would really happen until Rev was yet again caught messaging another woman. Shanny claims that Rev was speaking to some woman from Norway. I speculate that this was a troll simply trying to elicit this type of reaction out of the couple. This is the current state of Shanny and Rev. They burned through the $700,000 that they had back when they lived in Colorado. Their 2 boys were taken by the CPS, and their social media careers absolutely floundered. I have been watching Shanny and Rev for many years now. When I first started getting into stuff like this, I would watch people like King Cobra JFS, Jason Genova, and Shanny. Back then, things were already bad for Shanny, but I didn't think they'd get quite this bad. They are on what is legitimately their last option. If that uncle kicks them out again, they will almost certainly be homeless, but I don't know if he's going to kick them out. They've been there for years, with the room and their relationship deteriorating all the while. Back when Shanny and Rev had money, everything was great, but today they have more problems than they can count. They love to blame it all on the trolls, to say that they have single-handedly ruined their life. But when you squander opportunity after opportunity, who can you blame? Who is left to blame? Even some of Shanny's most die-hard supporters have left, simply because as time rolls on, they see more and more of the truth, that Shanny and Rev have been doing this for years and show no signs of stopping, and that they will blame everyone but themselves.